I think Vladimir Putin was very honest and forthright with Donald Trump about the reality that currently exists. And it's not a good reality for Ukraine. It's a very bad reality for Ukraine. But I think Putin, rather being arrogant and forceful, um, first of all, I think he respects the fact that Donald Trump is committed to peace. Let's never forget that the previous administration just wasn't talking to the Russians. The last time Biden spoke with Putin was in Geneva in June of 2021, where he, prefaced the meeting by calling Putin a killer, and then he lied to Putin. Wasn't honest about anything. Here we have an American president who's taking political risks. The easiest thing in the world politically for Donald Trump to do is to continue, given the amount of Russophobia that exists in the United States, given the support that he'd get from Europe, and then the ego boost he'd get from the Ukrainians, calling them, a hero, it would be to continue the policies of Biden or even, improve upon them. I don't think the American people would reject this. I think if it was sold properly, the American people would fall in behind because they've been conditioned to be anti-Russian. But Trump is going against the grain. He's taking the hardest possible path, and it's a difficult path. I mean, some people like myself would like him to be more forceful in putting pressure on Ukraine, but we have to remember that there's a lot of political obstacles here that have to be overcome. It's easy for somebody sitting, hundreds of miles away from Washington, D.C. to say, get out of NATO and tell the Europeans to pound sand and withdraw your embassies and tell Congress this. But that's not the real world. The real world we live in is far more complicated. And Trump has to navigate all of this in the pursuit of trying to bring an end to the conflict in a way that is beneficial to Russia and the United States, because that's one of the things that Trump emphasizes all the time, is that this isn't about continuing to bring Russia down, that he's actually trying to create a better life for Russia and the United States and the world. And I think Putin respects this tremendously, because I think Putin understands the political risks that Donald Trump takes. And so Putin is working with Trump to make a negotiated settlement possible, but it's only going to be possible based upon the Russian reality. There is no other reality. And I think Putin's task in talking to Trump is to educate him. The Russians have been very honest with Steve Witkoff. Witkoff has come back and spoken about the Russian reality. When the Russians spoke to Rubio and Waltz before he was fired, they both came out and said there's a Russian reality, that we have to address the Russian reality. So the Russians have been, very successful in communicating this, but the other players aren't up to the task of standing up to the pressure. Rubio goes to Europe and then bends to the will of Europe to start articulating things that indicate an exhaustion with this peace process. Yes, Europe wants Trump to be exhausted by this so that he then withdraws from it and then supports Europe's policies and supports Ukraine. They're trying to suck him into, continuing Biden's policies. I think Putin is appreciative of the fact that Donald Trump has shown an ability to withstand that. But what's essential here is that Putin has to reaffirm in Trump's mind, some essential truths.